Hello everyone, welcome back to the series on programming robot mechanics. In this video, we are going to work on linear spline interpolation. Now, this is something similar to cubic spline interpolation and as well as with the linear with parabolic blend. In this, we are going to implement a linear with parabolic blend, but we are going to introduce more than 2 points. The robot has to follow along with the initial and final position some intermediate points as well. Now, this is a pretty tough, I would say, implementation that took some time to develop. So, all right, without wasting any time, so let's get into the video now. Okay, so now what is this linear spline interpolation? This is the same thing that we had for linear trajectory planning point to point with parabolic blend. In this, we are given, in addition to the initial and final points, the intermediate points as well, which we need to make the robot pass through. Now, there is some I would say inconsistency with the following the points. We not typically follow the points, but we loop around really close to them. So not actually follow them, but we have a loop that just closes around them. But that is not much of a thing that we are going to worry about. We're just going to be seeing how to make a curve that looks something like this, not touching all the points. Now, there is a lot of mathematics involved in this, as usual, robotics. So for in order to solve for this curve, we first need to solve for some intermediate values. These intermediate values are, for instance, the intermediate velocities, the intermediate accelerations, the intermediate time, and the time the robot should take to pass this blend. Like how much time should be given to this blend. And the calculation of for the first segment and the last segments are somewhat dissimilar or somewhat different to the ones that we have in the middle segments. So these calculations are all listed over here. The link of this book is in the description. All right, so let's get to the code now. Okay. First of all, as usual, we are going to copy this documentation and function definition part, so we don't have to write everything again. So let's change some names over here. So in addition to the cubic spline interpolation, we have an additional parameter over here, that is t. In linear spline interpolation, one functionality that is provided above of the cubic spline interpolation is that we can specify the time for which each segment will last. For instance, we can specify the time for this theta, initial theta to the second theta. We can specify the time, the user can specify the time, and the trajectory will be built according to that. And as one may guess, we need to pass n-1. If the points are n, then we need to pass in n-1 time segments in order for the trajectory to work. And the sum of all those time segments should equal the total time that is taken for the curve. Otherwise, there would be some inconsistency, but that's just a small concern. Okay. In our case, we usually are what we are doing. We are usually interpolating from 0 till 1 by segmenting the 0 to 1 instant. That's just a general way of doing things. And we specify the segmentations by m equals 100. So this implies that under t underscore, the sum of the t underscore element should equal 100, or simply should equal what the value of m is. Now we can introduce a number of checks over here to make that. But since this complete trajectory file is not typically going to be used by any user, or to say, but only by the developers, we can just be a little bit slack about introducing some more constraints and assertions. So we'll just ignore them for now, but let's get to the code and see what it is. Okay, so the first thing that we do is similar to what we had done above. For the cubic spline interpolation, we derive the different shapes of the robot, the degree of freedom, and the number of points that are passed. Then what we do, the array that is passed, we normalize it dividing by m. So when we pass, this will normalize the complete t underscore array to be some values between 0 and 1 and not between 0 to 100. This is just for normalization. Okay. And then we are going to use the np.linspace to segment the 0 to 1 path. This is a simple part. Okay, now for the linear trajectory to work, now we are given the time. So if the user specifies the time, then we are allowed to make the acceleration some constant that is decided by us. We can use a default acceleration for this trajectory. One interesting thing to do would be introduce an optional parameter over here that the user can specify for the acceleration. But for now, let's just assume the acceleration to be 100. Now 100 is a big value. This value is big because we are planning between 0 to 1. But if we extend that generalization from 0 to 1 to any time, the acceleration value would go down accordingly. Okay, now for the different parameters that we want to calculate. So the first parameter that we have is time segments. I'll just type in all the parameters that we need, then we'll discuss what are these. Okay, so these are the different parameters. Now, as I discussed before, before solving this complete linear spline that we have, we first need to solve for these parameters. Then using these parameters, can we finally derive the complete spline that we have. Now, as also mentioned before, the final and the initial calculations are different from the ones that we have in the middle. So the first one we are going to work on is the initial time segment. And the calculations are also a bit not so trivial. So I'll just type in the complete and then I keep explaining what each line means. Okay, so these are the calculations for the initial time segment. We still have some more calculations to do, but these three are required for this part. Now, how we are doing this? First of all, we have to calculate these three values, which are the acceleration for the first segment, the time of the blend, actually this value over here, the time for this blend that we have, then the velocity between the first and the second position, and the time segment that the linear trajectory will last for. This linear trajectory time we will calculate towards the end, but first we need to calculate these three elements. Now, why there is an ordering of why we are solving something first and something later is because the values are such that we require the use of certain other values. For instance, in the calculation of acceleration, this time, this parabola time and the velocity, we require only few elements that are available to us from the start. But in order to calculate this time segment, we need the parabolic time for the second point that we have. And we have not yet calculated this. Therefore, we will do the calculations for the parabolic time towards the later part when we have calculated this required parameter that we have. So we've just copied these equations in the code. Like the acceleration is sine function of theta 2 minus theta 1 times the acceleration that we have. Everything is just copied. Nothing much fancy has been done. Like acceleration, we have initialized the first acceleration, the first blend time, and the first velocity. Now we are going to initialize the final time segment. So let's do this. Okay, so once again, these are the equations that are copied from here for the last segment, the acceleration, the blend time, the velocity, and we are yet to compute this linear time. But one thing that we need to notice is that the time segments and the velocities, right, both of these parameters should have been the shape of n-1 because these are related to the number of segments that we have. For the blend times and accelerations, these elements are going to occur every time the position element occurs. So this is directly equal to the number of points that we have. But velocities and time segments are defined for the segments between the points. Therefore, velocities and time segments should have been a size of n-1. But we are not doing this. Instead, the last element, we are filling it with 0. We are going to do similar thing for the time segments. But for velocities, we are also doing it the same way. This is just to introduce some generality of size. So we have even size everywhere and to reduce some errors when we are looping through different loops. So that's why we are doing it. Right, now this is done. Now we are going to calculate the intermediate time segment. So we are going to use a loop for that. So let's do this. Okay, so this is the loop for velocity. Why we are only calculating velocity in this loop? We could have calculated the accelerations and everything as well. For the reason for this is, first of all, we are calculating the velocities according to this formula that we have. Now, why we are not calculating the other parameters like the acceleration and the parabolic blend is because they use velocity that is going to be calculated in the future. For instance, we have theta dot jk calculated over here, and the theta dot kl value of this acceleration is going to be calculated in the future. Therefore, in order to calculate this theta double dot acceleration, we need the future values as well. That's why we are going to compute all the velocities first, and then we're going to compute all the accelerations and the time blend. So we can use the future values as well. So yeah, there is some kind of inconsistency and some difficult thing to understand, like the values are just here and there. So that's what was making this whole linear parabolic blend thing very tough to code. All right, so let's loop for accelerations now. Okay, so these are calculated. This is again in accordance with these equations that were given over here. Now it's time to calculate the different time segments that we have since we have calculated all the parameters. So let's do this now. All right, now all these time segments are calculated and the formulas are used, again described over here as Pjk is equal to whatever is written over here, and some different formulas for the first segment and the last segment right over here. Okay, and one thing that we discussed before, like the velocities and time segment size should have been n minus 1, but we are assuming the size to be n by making the last value equal to 0. All right, so all these values are now calculated. Now we can use all these values that we have calculated to actually interpolate the trajectory that we have. Okay, so let's do that. For that, we are again going to copy this q, qd, and qdd vectors, as you can say. Okay, now again, some tough part that we have over here is for the previous implementations that we have done, we were calculating the trajectories for all the degree of freedom or all the joints of the robots all at once. But for this particular case, linear trajectory, we would not be able to do that. Now, why is that the case? This is because the time that we, now the way that we are going to calculate these trajectory values is going to be by summing up the time incrementally. Now, for all the joints that we have, the time would not be in same. For instance, for joint 1, this parabola would end much quicker than say joint 2. Therefore, we would not be able to have any consistency between different joints that we have. Therefore, we need to do the calculations one by one. So that simply implies that we need to introduce a loop for the degree of freedom as well. Now, this will actually make readability slightly easier than we had before. Before we were just assuming all the degree of freedom calculations all at once, but here we need to take care of each joint one by one. Right, so let's do this now. Okay, so in this loop, we are going to introduce 3 new parameters as well. Now, the use of them will be really pretty much clear after we have used them in the loops. But we are going to add some comments that explain their readability. Okay, now the first one is J. The J value is going to be used to read the values in these that we have calculated, like these time segments, blend times, velocities, and accelerations. J, we will use J to calculate or to index these values. Right. Now, previous I is for saving Right. Now the previous I will be used for saving the index at which a parabola segment had started. Right. Now this, as I said, these values, the use of these values will be more clear. We are introducing in order for the code to be usable or complete. And the previous double I is for saving the index of the linear segment, of the start of the linear segment. All right, now we were going to introduce the second loop, which is the common loop that we have everywhere, which is the time steps loop. All right, now, as usual, we are having this time steps loop. And in this time steps, we are calculating the value of t, which is time steps I minus time steps previous I. Now, how the calculation is going to proceed, we are going to sequentially first calculate the trajectory of the parabola, then we're going to calculate trajectory of the linear part, and then the parabola, linear, parabola, linear. So in this sequential manner, we're going to calculate all the values. Now this previous I, now the idea would be clear why we are using it to store the start of a parabola segment. Like this will be used to subtract the value of t, so we can calculate the value of the trajectory when another parabola or another segment starts. This is something similar to what we had done in the linear interpolation, the simple linear trajectory planning, where we were subtracting the time steps from the previous time steps. This is done in order to follow the equations of motion. Simply, that's the simple reason for that. Okay, so we have calculated the time steps now. Now we are going to decide if the time that we have is in the blend region or is it in the linear region, or we need to step up and get to the next parabolic region. So for that, we are going to have three if-else statements, which are, okay, so these are the three cases. The first case is if the t is in the parabola range, we do this by the blend times jd. And then we calculate if the t is in the linear range, we do this by calculating blend times plus the time segments. And then we have a third case in which we encounter the case that the t has crossed parabola plus the linear range. When this thing happens, we are going to increment j by 1. Like this. Now, I think this will be clear what is going to happen. We are looping through the time steps and seeing where the t has been, like is it in the parabola region or in the linear region, the first set of parabola or linear, or in the second set of parabola or linear. That's what is done by using this j. Right, this might be getting clear as we go along. Okay, so first of all, we are going to calculate when the trajectory, when the t is in the parabola range. So let's do that. Okay, so we have the calculations over here. We are first getting the acceleration value for each particular joint and the time where it is. Then we are calculating the acceleration. This is going to be constant. I mean, throughout the thing, it is going to be constant, either some value or 0. And then we are calculating the velocity according to the equation of motion. Now here you can see the use of previous I that we had. This is being used as for the initial velocity, because the formula is v equals u plus at. U is the initial velocity and qd is actually using the initial velocity. Now why we have an if-else statement over here is because for the first time step, we need the actual value of the joint, like the initial position of the joint, that is specified using I equals 0. If we have passed that value, then we don't need that. Then we simply need the previous position that we had attained, not the initial given by the user. Now, previous I is again being used here for initial position and initial velocity, and then following the equations of motion. Right, this is pretty much it. Now let's fill in the linear region. So the linear region is comparatively simpler compared to the parabola region. We are simply using a constant velocity model with 0 acceleration and the equation of motion, similar to the one that we have before using previous I. All right, now this is the crossed part. So let's do that now. Right, now here we have the third case that we had. In this, we are actually setting the value of previous I. Now this is, as the name implies, we are using it to store the start of a new parabola that we have. Okay, and we're incrementing the value of j. Then we are doing some calculations to get the value of a and b. Now this, if let's just first go through the code complete, and then we're calculating the acceleration, the velocity, and the position, similar to what we have done above. And we are fixing the value of previous I over here. Now, okay, we needed to use previous I over here. This is, as we know, to save the value, the start of a linear segment. All right, so some mistake over here. In the linear range, we are again calculating the value of t, because the previous double I actually stores the value where the linear range starts. That's why we need the value, calculate the value of t again to know where the parabola part has ended and where the linear region has started. And here we are, previous II, we are updating the value of previous II, so we can use it when the linear region comes. Okay, so all right, so this is over here. And now we are using, why we are using this if statement is, if the value of j exceeds the value that the number of values that are present in the accelerations, then this code will certainly give an error because we have not specified much memory. Then we have to break the loop. Now what breaking this loop will do, it will introduce a new constraint or problem, that is the remaining I values will not be filled up. Assuming if the value of j has finished up till say 98 points, then the 99 and 100th point are still zero. They have not been updated. So in order to deal with that, now we are, after we have completed this complete loop, right, after we have broken up with this loop, then we need to introduce a one more loop that is going to loop over the remaining time steps that we had. So let's do that. Okay, so here is the loop that we have that loops over the remaining time steps. It's very similar to the parabolic part, because towards the end we actually have a parabolic region. So the remaining time steps are for the parabolic region that we have to complete. Okay. One thing additionally, one would say that if we are changing the loops over here, then why we are calculating the value of trajectory over here? It's because with the I value that we have over here, after we have, for instance, if we assume that this part is commented, then I is going to miss one value that we had to update. In order to stop that miss or to update, we are introducing this calculation once more over here. That's the simple reason. That's why. Okay, so after this loop is done, we have pretty much updated all the values of position, velocity, and acceleration. Then after the for loop has ended, we can simply return the values. Right, and now we're going to test it. I already have some basic testing code to check. In this, we have a 4 degree of freedom robot, which has been given 4 positions, and each of those positions are going to last for 30, 30, and 40 seconds. All right, now let's test that. Let's run it. Okay. All right, here we have it. Now, one thing that I can see that there is a small inconsistency over here. Let's see what the problem is. But the rest of the trajectories seem really good. The positions are smooth, really smooth. Velocity is starting from 0 and ending at 0 as well. That is also good. And the velocities are a trapezoidal graph. That is also good. And the accelerations also seem to be trapezoidal, except for some cases like an impulse value over here. But I think this is pretty much okay for our case. So let's see why this value is coming. Okay. All right. So there was a simple problem related to that. When we are in the third case where the t has crossed parabola and the linear region, we had to update the value of previous I as well. That was the simple reason. Now, this should have been done because there might be some joint values that are immediately after this else are going into this second case. If the blend time is really small and t is not able to fit in the first case, that's the reason we need to update previous II as well to maintain the continuity of the complete trajectory. All right, now let's run this again. And we have this. Now there is no inconsistency over here and everything seems perfect for now, but more errors will be realized when we were doing the unit testing and all, but currently everything looks good. Okay. All right, so this is pretty much it that we wanted for this video. In this video, we've implemented this linear spline interpolation, linear with parabolic blend. That's completely done now. All right, in the next video, we can either have one of two things. First one can be unit testing and some documentation related to trajectory planning. Since we have covered a lot and we have not written unit tests in quite a long time, the unit test writing is going to be somewhat boring or challenging as well, but let's see what we have. Or we can, other than that, we can first work completely complete the trajectory planning stuff. Like the only thing that is left in trajectory planning is Cartesian planning. Currently, we have been working on joint space planning that plans the path from one joint position to another joint position. But in Cartesian planning, we need to plan trajectories from one Cartesian position, like the XYZ and orientation, to another Cartesian position, XYZ and roll pitch yaw. All right, so let's see what we get in the next video. See you in the next video then. Bye.